Okay, Unplugged, Scene 7, take 1. Here we go, have a good one. Well, Unplugged is a redemption film. It's about a guy who gets given a second chance. Mark, the main character, he's a bit caught up in the modern world, in his work, in his phone, and he's kind of forgotten the important things in life. So he's bored of his wife, bored of his kids. He ends up making some really bad decisions, and he doesn't really quite understand how good he's got it until it's all gone.
Maybe I don't deserve real love. Maybe I'm too selfish to have a wife and kids.
The story was quite hard to actually come across. You have all these ideas for a feature film or this mini-series or something like that, but actually a short film, it was quite tough to actually find the themes and find something that you cared about and that people would care about over such a short time. In the end, the inspiration for the actual piece came from forcing myself to actually think about story driving down. So I started thinking about someone who was kind of potentially in my shoes and just doing the opposite of a lot of things. So he's not spending any time with his family, not spending any time with his wife, going and having an affair. Hopefully this guy will change over time. A lot of people say that they always want to write a script, and I'd always thought I'd love to write a film script as well, but I've never actually sat down and actually done it. And the great thing about this course is that it's forced me to sit down and do it. The bad part is I've never written a script before, so it was that kind of element of, do I just write out what's in my head? Where do I start? What about the characters? But luckily we had Julian Unthank come in, who has worked on Doc Martin and written a really good short film that was longlisted for the Oscars as well. So we had a professional come into the session, teach us about the whole process of script writing, but actually he didn't focus on the writing as much. It was more about the story and how important the story is. That session was invaluable. It taught me about how a story works, the arc of the story, how without any change, it's not a story, something has to happen, so the character has to go through a change. It taught me about all the different beats that need to happen, and what makes a really good story. You start thinking, will it actually work? Is it actually that good to do? But when I wrote my beat sheet, the heart of the story came out through there. The actual interesting parts of the story had to be fleshed out. The beat sheet forced me to think about all the different storytelling elements and how to actually fit them in. It actually felt like quite a nice story when it came to actually script it, which I didn't expect at all. It was really quick and easy to write the script. I wrote it in 2-hour sessions, and it was a really fun process to do. So as a TV journalist, I'm constantly writing scripts that are read out by people rather than just print. So I kind of know how people speak and make it quite realistic in that respect. No big light bulb moments where they go off and stare into the distance and have a big soliloquy out of the window. I wanted people to actually be quite raw and quite real throughout it all as well. Also, to help with the script writing process and storytelling, I also read Save the Cat, which was a fantastic book, and it basically backs up everything that Julian taught us in the class. It's just such a fun and easy book to read, not just because it tells you so much and it's fun to read in that way, but it's written in such a fun and laid-back manner, and it just tells it as it is. The only bad part about reading Save the Cat and all the other books is finding the time to do it. For me, I've got a full-time job. I've got a master's to do, this one. I was writing a master's at the time. I had a family and children and everything else that goes with it. But once I found the time to read them, it was a really good process. So I watched quite a few films to actually help inspire me to write the story, first of all. So The Family Man, starring Nicolas Cage. It's a similar kind of redemption kind of tale. And it was just nice to reference some of the script writing. I downloaded the script from that film and just sort of get an idea of other films that are made in that kind of genre. So the realism that comes out of it, the realizations from the guy as he goes through the processes and realizes, actually, I want this life, not the one that I had originally. And he goes to make that happen. Right, movie time again. David Fincher's Social Network, of course. All in the name of research. So for the theoretical part of this unit, we have to write an essay about a director that we like. So I was going to write mine about David Fincher, and I really enjoy his work. He's one of those directors where when you actually watch one of his films, you feel like you're there and you feel so into it. You get nervous, you get scared, you feel things. And quite often in films, you feel detached from the characters, or that you know that it's a film because it's not realistic enough. In the nightclub scene in The Social Network, he made the actors shout when they're actually in the club.
She's done for the summer, so she's back at her parents' place.
Because when we're in a nightclub in the real world, we shout. You can't hear a thing. You have to put your ear next to the person next to them and you just about hear them. So in the nightclub scene there, the music is so loud. The shouting from the main characters is loud as well. So you're stretching to hear everything they say, and you kind of have to zone in to what they're saying as well. But again, it makes you feel like you're actually really in there in the club with them.
She looks so familiar to me. She looks familiar to a lot of people. What do you mean?
A lot of David Fincher's earlier works were quite anarchic and political, but actually the most recent films like The Social Network, Gone Girl, and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo are more mainstream, more domestic, and more Hollywood kind of stories, and it's quite interesting. So my story's not really pushing against a political system, it's quite mainstream. So I actually took inspiration from his most recent works. So I sat down with my laptop watching them, making notes on exactly the framing, the mise-en-scene, the action that was going on, the script writing, the colour grading, all these different things which go into a David Fincher film. It's amazing how much depth you can go into, how much you can analyse a frame, a shot, a scene. It's also really fun to dissect a scene in even more detail than just looking at the cinematography. So, for example, in The Social Network, when Jesse Eisenberg's character is having a big fight on the phone with Andrew Garfield, they start off talking into each other in that traditional sense of the way. So one person's looking in their frame and the other person's looking towards them in the frame the other way. But as the conflict arises, they end up actually being on opposite sides of the frame. So you can actually see the conflict on the screen subliminally. And I think it's an amazing way of letting the pictures and the framing and the filmmaking tell the story as well as the script. It's just an extra layer of depth that he gives to his scenes. The actual scene that I'm shooting is a bedroom scene, and funnily enough, there's a bedroom scene in The Social Network as well. And that scene kind of stood out for me when I watched it. It was so real and simple, and it kind of worked so easily. I've got my guys in a bedroom scene, and there's going to be similar shots, similar lighting, similar colour grading. I also have got that phone scene in there as well, which means I get to play with Fincher's style of people having conflict on the phone. So at the point where Victoria actually starts giving him an ultimatum and isn't happy with his answers, she switches to the other side of the frame to give that conflict that comes through between their relationship. And again, that's all been inspired from watching David Fincher and writing my essay. Well, pre-production was the part I was most nervous about. You kind of feel like anyone can write a script and sort of put something down on paper, but the actual hard part is putting it together and making it happen. So finding actors, finding a filming location, finding a crew, getting it shot. But it was really good because we had some great guest lecturers come in to actually allay our fears and my fears about how to do all of this pre-production, how to actually make the film happen and do it to a professional standard. So we had Maggie Tarver come in, who taught us about casting.
Of course I do.
She allayed quite a few fears, but it also made me still feel quite nervous because even though you're told about these websites that you can actually hire and try and put out a casting call, you never actually know how your one will work and if people will be interested in your script. Funnily enough, when I came to actually writing the casting call and putting it out there, I was shocked at how many people wanted to be in the film and how many actors actually responded. I had about 13 actors within a week come through and want to play 2 of the lead roles. So it was a case of going through them, finding out which ones I liked, which ones fitted the role, and because I'm tight, I was also looking at who lived nearby, because a few of the people actually lived in Manchester and Liverpool. Funnily enough, not many people from Hampshire actually got in touch with me, so I actually started being proactive and started emailing a few people that were on Casting Call Pro. So I did a search for actors just in Southampton, and one of the first people that came up was Aaron, and he looked completely right for the role. He ticked all the boxes for me. I contacted him, and within seconds he was signed up to Unplugged, which is awesome. It was a bit harder to cast the 20-year-old because the ones that got in touch with me didn't have the right fit necessarily for the role. So I contacted Aaron again and just asked if he knew anyone of that kind of age. He said, yeah, my girlfriend. So that worked really well because Leah looks great. She's also fits the bill for who she's going to be. She looks like she works up in London. And it's great because they've got a great chemistry because they're already together. So the bedroom kind of intimacy, they were absolutely fine with and so relaxed with not many clothes on at times. It was really cool to actually see the scene happen and work realistically and come across so well on film.
Well, I'm going to jump in the shower. sorry to rush away. It's just I'm meant to be meeting my mum in an hour to go shopping.
Your mum?
So once we had the lecture on casting, it was time to actually find out about how to actually work with actors. So the next week we had John Barlow come in, and he's a famous theatre actor and has also worked on screen as well. And he brought in 2 actors, and it was great just to, again, demystify all these actors. I thought actors were just there to remember a line and stand on a mark, but it's so much more than that, and they take much more than that on board. I thought they'd be a bit more egotistical and want the whole scene to be about them, but not about the character. But actually, they care more about the character than even the scriptwriter a lot of the time. So once we'd learned about how to actually work with actors, it was time to actually work with a crew and to how to actually set up a scene. And we had an awesome guy come in for that. Rodrigo Gutierrez, who's actually worked and camera operated on some of the biggest blockbusters in the last few years, like Alice Through the Looking Glass and Jack the Giant Slayer, but also the smaller story-based films like Last Chance and The Devil's Double. And because he's done all of that, and because he knows so much about his craft and worked for so long, I was literally hanging on every word that he said. And it was great to hear some of his tips. Making sure that the shot is staged and has people at different angles, places, and so it feels real rather than just people in a studio set as well. And that made me in my film actually think about the set and what we were going to see on there, the movement of the characters as well. So I wasn't just going to have them in bed for the whole 2 minutes. They needed to get up, they need to go round, they need to walk away, they need to come back in, they need to go to a phone, we need to get other shots in the scene. And that all came from Rodrigo, really. One of the biggest tips that came through from Rodrigo, and actually all of the guest lecturers, was to be prepared as much as you can before the shoot actually happens. I'd got the cast, I'd got the crew, I'd got the filming location. What else could I do in the week leading up to the shoot? Well, I could plan every shot, and I could do that through storyboarding. Now, I'm an awful drawer, and as you can see from my pictures, I'm an awful drawer on storyboards still, even on the computer. But what you can get from my storyboarding is the sense of the shot. Is it a close-up? Is it a 2-shot? Is it a wide shot? And that process helped me think about every shot. It helped me plan every shot, and actually it was a great reference on the set to be able to say, look, this is what I want actually in this scene, this is what I actually want from this shot, this is what I'm looking for to actually help tell the story, and it let us know exactly what we're doing on the day. Another really important part of the filmmaking process is actually talking with a mentor and someone who's been there and done that. And that's what I got through my tutorials with Stephen. He was there to listen to my problems and what I was worried about, give constructive feedback to the script, the dialogue, the shots, how I was thinking of putting it all together. And you really need someone who's been there and done that to help you and guide you and let you know you're doing things right. Scene 7, take 1. Here we go, have a good one. The shoot on the day was really fun.
Your mum?
Everyone had a good laugh on set, and even though it's quite an intimate scene, everyone was really relaxed and happy to do whatever on the day. The crew were awesome. They were all so professional. I kind of made them do things quite quickly and efficiently just because I didn't want to run out of time. Phil and Gemma did a great job with the camera. I haven't shot a film before, so it was great to have them there and to have their expert opinions. It felt like a professional kind of crew on the day. We all knew our jobs, we knew what we were going to do, we had a plan, we had a script, we had storyboards, and it's just a matter of getting it done. And action!
Are you gonna tell her about us?
The location was quite tight, so when we practiced a few shots, we knew we had to move things around a little bit. But that's what happens on set, isn't it? Especially when you're using real interiors, real locations. So it's just a case of moving things around, finding the best angle, finding the best shot, and getting it done. Overall, I'm really happy with how the whole film's turned out, actually. It was really close to how I envisaged it in my head. We got the shots that we wanted on the day. The editing was, because I'd planned it all, was quite easy to do as well. The colour grading, because I knew what I had to do with Finch's kind of style, the yellows in there, wasn't the hardest to actually put through as well. And I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. I've made a fiction film. I've made a short piece, and I'm really proud of it. It was a really fun process. I've never made a film before, and now I have. It's just something that I've always wanted to do, something that I thought I could do, and now something that I know I can do.
Cut.
Cool. That's a wrap. Thank you, everyone. As a broadcast journalist, I should really be going on to be doing a documentary for my final major project next year, but I've just really enjoyed the whole process of making this short 2-minute scene from the film. You might get to see the full version of Unplugged next year.